How has it been so far? Who is there representing the Patriots in this? What's the scuttlebutt down there?
Yeah, so the Patriots have Vrabel here, Matt Groh, Cam Williams, their college scouting director, Elliott Wolf, Ryan Cowden. Their pro guys are not here. So, I think as much as anything else, guys, this is a good opportunity for those guys to kind of try to get on the same page, and I think one of the best ways football people can do that is by watching players together. Elliot can learn what Mike is looking for. Mike can learn how Elliot evaluates. Ryan and Elliot can start to learn each other. So, if this thing's going to work, I think this is one of the things that really helps. When they're out there together, sort of trying to meld the way that they do things. And again, this is like for most of the league guys, the kickoff to 2025. So a lot of talk about what's going to happen with different quarterbacks in the offseason and. Free agency is still a ways away, so it's more combine when deal making actually happens. But all of that stuff starts to get off the ground here.
It feels like for the Patriots, there's a lot of work to be done, whether it be here or at the combine coming up, because at 4 in the draft, it feels like it's pretty wide open for them where they could go with this.
I agree. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I've talked to a handful of guys, and one I don't know. I haven't talked to enough to say it's a consensus yet, but it feels like there's 2 blue chip players in this draft, and that's it. So those 2 are Abdul Carter, the defensive end from Penn State, and Travis Hunter, the two-way guy from Colorado. I think after that, and again, there's a long way to go, and I haven't called all 32 or anything like that yet. And made all my draft calls, and obviously we'll all know a lot more in March and April. But it does feel like there are sort of 2 guys above the fray in this draft class, and quite honestly, guys, when it comes to where the Patriots are at 4. It's going to take the quarterbacks getting hot to have one fall to them, probably. Otherwise you're sort of in this no man's land where, all right, we're probably not going to get a guy who would go 4th overall in most draft classes. So let's just try to come away with a good player.
But I was thinking about this, Bert. Let's say they do get one of those guys. If one of those guys is there,
yeah,
which one would you take, and why? Why would it make sense for the Patriots to take? Make the argument for Hunter or Carter.
Man, Hunter would be interesting. I guess the argument for Carter. So it's really hard to find an edge rusher that you can build a defense around, and I think Carter can be that. The other argument there would be, well, you're already really good at corner with Gonzalez, and you have some depth at corner, so it's not a huge position of need. So, but I would argue, Michael, when you're drafting this high and you got players of this caliber, I sort of think you should, unless we're talking about quarterback where there's only one on the field, I sort of feel like you have to throw need out the window. You know what I mean? Where just go, if there is a Hall of Fame player there, a guy you think's got a chance to put on a gold jacket in 15 or 20 years, but you just take him. You know what I mean? Hunter be interesting because I think his future in the NFL is a corner, but he could help you at receiver too. And I have made a lot of calls on Hunter over the last month and a half. And, I what most people have told me is that in a vacuum, if he was just on one side of the ball or the other, he'd be a top 10 pick at both positions, which is freaking wild. You know what I mean? I can't think of a player ever, in my lifetime at least, who could stake that sort of claim. So you have that versus, Abdul Carter, which I think would fill a need, and it's a very conventional pick and a guy you could build your defense around, for the next decade. So I don't know that you could really go wrong with either one. It'd be a tough call between the 2 of them.
Bert, you mentioned the front office staff that's down there for the Patriots. Do you think that's locked in long term, or do you think we could still see some changes when it comes to the front office for the Patriots?
Yeah, I sort of wonder what Matt Groh's role is going to be going forward. I said this on TV last night. It was interesting because, there's that league meeting in Dallas in December. And the people who go to that meeting generally from the teams, obviously ownership's there, but it's also the cap people. And they're there because they have what's called the labor seminar, which sets up rules and compliance and all that different stuff for the following year. And the Patriots Robin Glazer was there, and obviously she's not part of the equation anymore, but Matt Groh was there too. And I asked around about that a little bit, and it sounded to me like Matt Groh has really kind of taken on a role that's more towards the contract side. Now, he's got a legal background, but it does make me wonder, all right, is he moving away from college scouting? Because here's an interesting nugget for you guys. I don't know if you know this, but their college scouting director is a guy named Cam Williams. He went to high school at Catholic Memorial in West Roxbury, went to college at Ohio State. Mike Vrabel was actually his lead recruiter. So Mike has known Cam Williams since Cam was like 16 years old. So you have Elliott as the number one. You have Ryan Cowden as the number 2 or 1A or however you want to look at it. And then you have Pat Stewart running the college side, and Pat's another Ohio State guy that Vrabel knows. And then you have Cam Williams, who he's, obviously has a really good relationship with running the college side. And it's like, where does Matt Groh fit into that equation? And do they want to move Matt Groh over to the cap side, or do they want to bring in somebody else to run that side? I think those are some of the, moving pieces that they haven't quite figured out yet, that they're going to have to figure out over the next few months.
When fans hear that, Cameron Williams has a relationship with Mike Vrabel and he's known him since he was 16 years old, I think the question goes back to, he's been here since 2022, right? I think that was the year that he took over college scouting. The drafts since then have been very...
Well, no, he's been around a lot longer than that.
Right. But I think his title that he's in now took over in 22, right?
Yep.
So to be in charge of college scouting since 22, you go back to the last several drafts and say, yeah, there are some hits in there, but there are a lot of misses. There are a lot of misses in the last few drafts. And I think it just keeps going back to this question of, if you want the drafts to get better, how is it that the same people are doing the drafting? How do you have any confidence as a fan of this team that the drafting will get better when, and then as we're talking about Groh and whatever his role is, but Cameron Williams is still there, and Elliott Wolf is still there, and there are several other people
Alonzo
that are still in the room.
and all.
Well, you guys have you guys have heard the anecdote. I told you guys the N'Keal Harry story, right? About how Bill overruled his scouts, and the scouts liked A.J. Brown and Deebo Samuel, and they didn't like DK Metcalf that year, but like they were sort of overruled on that one. There's one from 3 years ago too, where I'm telling you, everyone and their mother in the NFL thought that the Patriots were going to draft Trent McDuffie with the 21st overall pick. Like, this is the thing you can lock down. Like, he is, like, from a makeup standpoint, just like Devin McCourty, like, safest pick in the draft, a really high level corner. Bill's going to take him. And like, it was to the point where when he fell to 21, the Chiefs thought it was over. The Chiefs loved him, and the Chiefs thought it was over. Like, they were like, oh, the Patriots are going to take him. And they were stunned when the Patriots traded them the pick to go up and get him. So my understanding is the Patriots, like, personnel department did love Trent McDuffie. And the comment I heard, which was really interesting, was like the scouts were asking Bill about Trent McDuffie, and the response they got was, well, who the hell is he covered in the Pac-12? And they didn't wind up taking him, and they wind up taking a guard from Chattanooga. So I'm just telling you.
And who the hell did he block at Chattanooga would have been my response.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I think, I think unless that's the thing is, like, and Michael, you wrote a whole book on this. It's really hard, like, to judge people who don't have the trigger on picks, because a lot of times it's like, all right, I'm going to set the table, and here are 4 good players for you. And, sometimes the guy with the trigger takes the wrong one or overrules the guy who's done a lot of the work. And so, I would look at Cam Williams as somebody who's, risen through the organization quickly, who I think is seen as a guy who down the line could become a general manager, So I have a hard time just judging them on singular draft classes when they don't have the trigger. They aren't the one that's making the final call.
The 2022 draft class has 2 players remaining on the roster from it. It's Cole
not
Strange,
good. Yeah, not
Cole
good.
Strange and Marcus Jones.
Cole Strange and Marcus Jones.
2 guys left from that draft class. That's not that long ago.
I get everything you're saying about, hey, scouts want a guy, and the Patriots are probably the Patriots under Belichick were worse than most teams in terms of being solicitous. Come on in around the table. They were not that kind of team. They were scouts who put national scouts who were not in the draft room. And like, you'd have to be called in by appointment Belichick would call you in. Okay, thank you. Get out of here. It was a very small circle. It was Ernie. It was Bill. The Crafts, obviously, but they had to be in by appointment too. I'm just kidding. No, seriously, it was close call, close quarters.
It was the opposite.
But Bert, I get that. But what about last year? You don't have the cover of, hey, I told him to get Deebo Samuel. I told him to get A.J. Brown. He didn't listen. Who told you to pass on Lab McConkey and get Jalen Polk?
Right.
Who told you to get Caden Wallace and all these guys? So that's where I have my questions.
Yeah, all that's fair. I mean, I think it's hard again. Like, and Beetle, me and you don't have to fight over this again. But
why not? I wasn't here, Bert. I think
one year. I think judging like a front office, and again, like I recognize that they were there before that too. So like they have blood on their hands for some of the things that happened before this too. But like, I do think like judging a front office on one draft class after 1 year is really tough. Like I can look at like different guys and I can bring up different guys where their circumstances changed. They became better players. Like, who's a good one was Diami Brown in Washington, who showed promise early on, but it was such a bleep show that he kind of went in the tank and disappeared. And now this year they get Jaden Daniels back. And I'm not saying the guy's going to become like the equal of Terry McLaurin there, but like he did develop into something more given a better environment. And I think we can all agree, like when we look at the receivers, right? There was something rotten in that. And we said it during the year. This isn't revisionist. There was something rotten in that room, right? I would just say like, give that more than a year. You know what I mean? Like, and I do think there's a lot of work that needs to be done. We could talk more about this too. Like, I do think there's a building out of the personnel department going beyond scouting that's going to happen. That's going to add more guardrails and voices. That was really necessary, that I think it was going to take somebody like Vrabel coming in who has the juice to push ownership on it to get it done. And I think some of that stuff's going to get done. And so I don't think they're done adding people to the personnel department. I would say I'm not sure how many people are going to be subtracted from what they inherited.
Hey, if you like that clip, check out more videos from Zolak and Bertrand right here. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.